I'm really excited for this one. Literally one of our favorite people. Let's list off all the accolades.
Please.
Elite basketball player back in his day. I haven't seen the footage, but we've heard this.
And you say back in the day, who knows what he can do now?
You're right.
Thank you.
Right.
Broadcaster, executive, coach. One of the great ones in Sacramento, Jerry Reynolds. How you doing, Jerry Bear?
You know, I'm doing a lot better just seeing you two guys. And, of course, we go back quite a ways.
Yeah.
You know, you were a lot younger, and I was still old, but I was less old.
I think that's one of the things I miss most about you being on the broadcast team is how much time the three of us would sit on the court before a game and just talk basketball. And we always appreciate that because you're right. We are the young people bugging the old vet over here, but you were always so great to us. And
I'll cherish those moments forever.
Well, thank you. Selfishly, I enjoyed it. I mean, I recognize that you guys kind of got it and you really loved the game. And so I don't mind talking basketball with anybody. I still get stopped in the supermarkets every now and then, a few people that'll recognize me and they'll say, want to ask basketball questions.
Yeah. Well, I want to go way back. You also author, by the way. Reynolds remembers. We'll see how much he remembers and with these questions coming his way.
Wow, shots fired early.
Well, I mean, he's lived a long life.
Okay. Wow. Another shot fired, Jerry.
Yeah, I know.
Here we go.
Well, I'm not surprised.
I got you.
We know Deuce.
Yeah.
When did you first fall in love with the game? We ask everybody that, but like your first memories of the game of basketball.
I can tell you exactly. I was, I think, 6 years old. I was in the first grade, and my dad took me to a high school basketball game. I had a uncle that was the star of the French Lick, Indiana Red Devils, the French Lick High School Red Devils. Richard Morgan, he was the best player on that team. I remember that, and of course I've known him since or whatever. But I just fell in love with it. It's like, wow, all the people there in the town, little high school, but it was. It was the thing at that time, a true religion in Indiana. And I thought, boy, someday if I could just wear one of those uniforms and play for the high school team and that sort of thing. And that from then on, it was, I played all sports, but there was always, to play for the French Lick Red Devils. Unfortunately, the time I got to high school, they changed the high school. It became consolidated and became Springs Valley High School, which, Larry Bird went to as well.
Yeah.
He did something there.
He probably did okay, right?
He did okay.
Yeah, okay.
He had to, took him a while to get there.
Wait, when they became Spring Valley, then what was their mascot if it wasn't?
The Springs Valley Blackhawks.
Oh,
nice.
I mean, that's a whole different.
With the V.
So then that's what you, is that what it is?
Well, I can remember some of the crap.
So you were still though inspired even to wear like that uniform and everything, even as it changed though? Like,
well, no, I mean, obviously, the time I got to high school, I wanted to wear, I was happy to be a Spring Valley Blackhawk, and because it had some success before I got there. I mean, in other words, they consolidated when I was in 8th grade, and they also went to the state finals that year unbeaten. In a year, that was when they had open classes, no classes. So it was a small high school, and they went unbeaten to the Final Four and was defeated, similar to Milan or Hickory.
Wow.
Except that they won it.
Yeah.
And Springs Valley didn't. And, of course, I always say the biggest downside, not just losing, was they lost to Fort Wayne Southside, a big high school, Fort Wayne, Indiana. That's where my wife graduated from.
ooh.
And she ain't forgot it yet.
Reynolds just remembers.
Yes, Reynolds, yeah.
So good.
I just have nowhere to go with it.
What attracted you so much to it?
Well, I think at first it was the pageantry, of the whole thing. As a little kid, you don't really think about the game per se. Then as I started, trying to play and everything, just how hard it is to play in the competition. I love to compete, and then the more you're in the game, the more you realize how hard it is to understand. I mean, I read everything I could read. Back in those days, you didn't have a lot of games on TV. You'd have, like an NBA game once a week, and the Indiana Hurricane Hoosiers would play once a week. And so I'd be all excited and nervous, waiting for games and things like that.
What type of player were you? Were you little like dirty side of you as a player?
I tell you the truth. I have to tell you the truth. I was selfish. I really ashamed of myself. I was a chucker. I was a chucker.
So did you ever evolve as a player where you were unselfish, or were you pretty much just a selfish?
Oh, no. By the time I got to college, I got unselfish. The coach explained it to me. He kind of gave, early in my freshman year, I kind of thought I was the big deal, and he explained, no, that guy's the big deal. And I took a shot, and I made it, but it's supposed to be run a play. Back in those days, you had some structure.
Sure.
Offensive. Back in those days.
Yes.
Back in 1800 or whenever it was. Not like today's game. But anyway. Yeah. And as soon as the ball went through the net, I saw the sub coming in for me.
Whoa.
And I always remember he took me out and he said, "You little blankety blank, if you do that again, you won't play again." So I said to myself, "Self, I better get with the program."
Yeah, I better lock in or I'm not going to be playing.
Yeah, he's better than me, and I better adjust.
What was it like in French Lick, Indiana? Because, of course, we've heard it because you're from there, but also you had mentioned it, Larry Bird. Like, how much did you guys cross paths? Like, you guys have a pretty strong connection because of being from French Lick?
It's obviously a small town, so you would. But I had played some with his older brother Mark, who was several years behind me, and then my youngest brother Randy played with Larry. Was on, and he played, I think, through his junior year. Then he got diabetes, got out of control, and he couldn't play. But so the families were, and then I always say my first work experience, I got to know his granddad, Claude Bird, because I worked on a golf course. My job was raking sand traps and mowing bunkers on one of the Donald Ross championship courses there in French Lick. They have a couple of them, a Pete Dye course and a Donald Ross course. Anyway.
And so if you went back to French Lick, are you kind of iconic there, would you say? I mean, obviously Larry
I would say not now. There was a period of time when I was pretty well known. I mean, they retired my jersey in high school there. There's only two there.
Wow.
Yeah, Larry's and mine, which I always remember calling Larry when they did, and I said, Larry, I just noticed, my jersey's hanging there right next to yours, and they got a plaque, and on all the birds things, and then they got a plaque and some of what little I'd done, but I didn't tell him that. I said the plaque's, pretty much same size. I said, Larry, looks like, we're pretty equal. And he said, Jerry, you little dumb shit. He said, don't you know you drove down Larry Bird Boulevard to see it?
That's one thing Larry would keep it real.
Yeah, oh yeah, no.
One of the elite trash talkers in the game.
Oh, yeah. Well, his wit. He's a lot, very, very witty.
Growing up, too, was there any players, did you have favorite players where you're like, I want to be like that guy, or I want to be like them?
Well, yeah, I think always in high school, when you're growing up, it's the guy's older. A few years, I always say heroes are generally 3 or 4 years older than you are.
Yeah.
And there was a guy named Marvin Pruitt. Marvelous Marvin was an all-state player from Springs Valley, went on to play at Evansville University, a good college, played with Jerry Sloan in college, and good player, and a terrific high school player. And so he was my hero, and I always say he was my hero, at least for the most part, although one time when I was a freshman, he was a senior, and he tied me up in the bleachers with jump ropes and it's one of those things. You're a freshman. And I was on the varsity, but not playing any. But the coach comes out and chews me out. He said, "Reynolds, quit screwing around." It's like,
I'm tied up right
I'm tied
now.
up here. I didn't, because he wasn't going to. He knew who did it.
Yeah.
But he was, he wasn't going to. He wasn't going to get on Marvelous Marvin. So he got on Unmarvelous Jerry.
Marvelous.
So you play basketball, play college ball. When was coaching a thing for you? Like, did you know right away you wanted to be a basketball lifer and get into coaching?
No, not really. I'd always planned on. My idea was to, my hero, in high school was a guy named Philip Summers, who was a teacher, social studies, and I always thought he's cool. Single guy, lived in town, had a late model used car. I thought, man, that's big time.
Yeah.
and so I thought, well, that's what I'd like to do. And actually, Phil Summers later became the president of Vincennes University. But he's the one that encouraged me to go to Vincennes. He thought it would be good for me, then I could go there 2 years and then go somewhere else. And then, but he mainly because he knew me that, if I got very far away from home, I'd probably come back and never finish. I could come home on week, and it was true. I think a lot of small town kids, there's such a comfort zone, and you get into a college situation, it's like I don't know about this.
Yeah.
And so anyway, it really he helped me there, and then I think I got in a bad wreck my second year in junior college and pretty much ended my playing career. And that's when I started thinking about coaching. I know the coach I played for had mentioned that. And then later he brought me back to be his assistant, in junior college. So, that was, he'd always said, because we'd talk, I could talk basketball.
Yeah.
I was one, like he said, I was one of the few players that ever actually paid attention to what was going on in the high schools, and I helped him recruit even when I was playing. I knew who was pretty good in the area and stuff.
Wait, so with that first junior college assistant coaching job, did you get paid? Was it a paid job?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It was a big-time program. It got even bigger, but we had... when I played there, it was good, but it got bigger, and and it's bigger now. Where we had games on local TV and stuff.
Wow.
And we won we won 2 national championships there. In California, it's one state. It's really community colleges.
Sure.
But in the national scene, it's like Vincennes and Southern Idaho and Tyler, Texas. In other words, some of these programs, they recruit nationally. When I was there, we recruited Bob McAdoo, all-time great. Foots Walker played in the league. Ricky Green was an all-star. Sean Marion went to Vincennes. Carl Landry.
Wow, a lot of talent.
Yeah. My last year in JUCO, and I took some of the guys with me to West Georgia, we had 8 guys that were later drafted.
Wow.
As they went on to different places.
Damn.
But it was that level. Yeah, we played. We scrimmaged Indiana State, and we'd beat them 30 or 40 points.
Oof.
They had nobody at that time. When the Bird was there, they did, but just because of him. But yeah, we had pro. But that was the day when about all the a lot of top players were going junior college because they had so many academic restrictions. Mm-hmm. And so Spencer Haywood, Artis Gilmore, Fred Brown, Tiny Archibald, all those guys were junior college guys.
That's wild.
I love that you have that connection with.
So how did you get to the NBA?
I think it is a couple of things. I developed a friendship early on with Cotton Fitzsimmons, who was a coach at Moberly Junior College in Missouri when I was at Vincennes. And so there was a connection there. And then, of course, Cotton later on got in the pros. And then also Phil Johnson was a coach at Weber State and was recruiting some of our players. So we became close friends. So those 2 guys in particular helped me. When I went to West Georgia, Cotton had me work sometimes with his veteran camps. See, in those days you had one assistant coach.
Yeah.
So in summer
And today
league,
you have 45.
75.
and now
Yeah.
you have 75. Nobody knows who they are or what they do. But anyway, so they had one assistant. So in summer leagues, you'd have to have they wanted help, and so I'd help, and they'd pay me a little something. And then usually in veteran camp, because it was 40 miles from West Georgia, Carrollton, Georgia, to so it was handy for me to help out.
Yeah.
And so, which was interesting because I always remember a couple of camps, with Pete Maravich was there.
Oh,
And that was fun. The guy was
Ahead of his time?
ahead of his time.
You're one of the rare people who have been in Sacramento, a part of the organization really, since the beginning.
yes.
1985.
1985.
Crazy. Thinking about you and G-Man, Gary
Yep.
Gerald, who's also here since 1985. Take us back to what Sacramento was like, then the reception that team got coming to this city. Yeah, it's the capital of California, but a much different place then. What was that whole experience like coming here in 85?
Well, it was amazing for me. I mean, just to be part of the NBA, I thought it was really exciting, and I always remember the summer league is a strange summer league we had, and I joined the team in July, by the way, after they drafted Joe Klein. I take
No responsibility.
I'm innocent. Okay?
Innocent.
I'm innocent. My hands are clean. And I love Joe. Better guy you couldn't find. But the games in Sacramento was just, packed. American River.
Wow.
American River College.
Yeah.
It's packed. It's so exciting, and of course my first experience was I thought all the players were great. Like Phil told me, he said, yeah, pump the brakes here, son. They're awfully good.
Yeah.
But the difference, most of them are just good enough to get you beat.
Yeah.
And I learned that lesson. That's exactly right. There's a difference between guys who can help you win and guys who look good in losing efforts.
So then I guess from the start, you got to see the packed buildings, arenas,
The
or
energy, yeah.
the energy. You've seen it all. What is it that makes Sacramento Kings fans so different or so special?
I think the timing was so good that when the team came as certainly the only major sports team, the arena, the temporary arena, which was first, a 10,300 seat arena, and so it was sellout, standing room only, waiting list to get tickets, and I think that helped. Everybody couldn't get tickets. And then I'll be honest with you, I thought one of the smartest things they didn't hardly televise any home games.
Oh, so forced people to
wanna
get.
You
come
want to see the
this?
Kings at
Come out here.
home, you
Whoa.
bought a ticket. And now that wasn't totally unusual at that time. Very few teams, the Lakers and Knicks and some of the big markets, they would televise they'd have a broadcast team that
Sure.
had all 82, but most of the small markets didn't.
First of all, I love how much you love the game still, and you've been around it pretty much your entire life. You talk about from playing to coaching, and then broadcasting. You eventually, leave the coaching element, do a front office role with the Kings. You do the broadcasting. Did you ever, in your wildest dreams, think you were going to be a broadcaster at any point?
No.
How did that come to be?
That's another. It's kind of interesting. It's about like how I came to run the Monarchs. It's one of those deals that Jim Thomas at the time. The truth is, he wanted somebody to do it for nothing.
Yep. That's still the broadcasting world.
A whole bunch of jobs. You're going to add one more thing to your plate.
Well, it's like, I always remember when he had me wanted me to do the Monarchs. It's like, well, is there any more money here?
It's another job.
I want you to do this, and then of course I figured out it's like, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
If I don't do it, I might be looking for a job. So yeah, sure, I can't wait to get started. So that's the real world that most people deal with.
Yeah.
It's very unlike the league now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You wouldn't do anything without negotiating a big contract of some type. But so is that. But the broadcasting. I know Jim Thomas, but he just said too. He said, I think it'd be good for the broadcast to have yourself or somebody that the fans can identify with, that identify with the Kings, because we'd had broadcasters that really had nothing to do with the Kings. They were plenty good.
Yeah.
Sure.
Certainly better than probably I was, but I mean, it was a case of, and I think it actually made a lot of sense. The thing that most people have forgotten, not that they should remember, but my first 2 years, I think I worked with Gary Gerald on TV.
Yep.
And then then they switched, wanted Grant to do TV and Gary to go to radio.
I think that one of the things with you that I always enjoyed was you were just yourself. It doesn't matter on camera, off camera, and you brought that humor to the table too, with the nicknames. I know you had fun back in the old days with the Sacktown Royalty and King's Herald come up with nicknames, but it was just always you knew, hey, there's a new player on the team. What's Jerry's little catchphrase going to be?
Jerryisms.
The Bano Drano, I think, is one of the ones that I always think about. Bibbalicious? Is that another one?
Bibbalicious for Mike Bibby, Page of Vu.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. The Brockness Monster was one of the...
That was a great
Fantastic.
one. Yeah.
What was your favorite? Sorry, I know you had a...
I think the Tasmanian Slovenian Bano.
That's
really
and
good. I had some lady chew me out about that. She said, "Well, that's disrespectful to call in Bano the Tasmanian Slovenian." I said, "Well, he really likes it." So I told her, I said, "I don't care if you like it. He likes it. He loves it.
I'm not calling you that."
And I said, if he had a problem with it, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, I just loved your approach because it was just like the perfect balance. And you think about the impact you had on a lot of people who watched Kings basketball all these years. It's just really, really special.
Well, it was really fun for me. I always had that. People ask me the question, what of all the jobs I've had, and to me, I enjoyed all of them to some degree. Obviously, the toughest jobs and the least fun jobs was head coach and general manager. Those are, you're just taking a bite of crap every day. You just don't know where from. But you're going to. But assistant coach, I loved. You got to teach and be the good guy. And then I always thought broadcasting was really the most fun.
A couple of Kings ones for you. Who do you think is maybe like a Sacramento King over the years that maybe fans didn't totally appreciate?
That's a good one.
Like maybe an underrated
player.
Yeah.
Well, there's several.
Wow.
Comes to mind, and they'd be forgotten probably to a degree. Eddie Johnson would be one comes right. Was really not just really good, but a real team leader, good guy. Probably would be a good coach, but he didn't. But anyway, Eddie Johnson.
Okay.
I think as far as talent, a guy that probably isn't thought of much because he wasn't here very long was Danny Ainge.
Okay.
Danny was terrific. He clearly. He played in his two-time All-Star in the NBA in his prime, and played on a lot of winning teams. And he was a Major League Baseball player and a scratch golfer. He's a great athlete. And so, but he wasn't here that long. I just one of my favorites, and will always be. It was Isaiah Thomas.
Oh man.
And I always thought too, and I remember doing, and I know, I sat, where we did the games on the floor there, and Chris Mullen and Pete DiLisandro, and they were sitting there, and I don't think, and I knew they never quite got him, and it's like, this guy's really good.
Because they just saw an undersized guard?
Yeah, they kept, to me, it's always the old thing I kind of learned from Jerry West one time. He said, you should focus on what they're really good at. Don't spend too much time worrying about what they're, what makes them special. Well, he could really score and efficiently. And Pat, I always remember Danny Ainge when they got him in Boston. He told me, he said, because we talked about it, he said, we went from being a non-playoff team to a playoff team when we got Isaiah Thomas.
That's what I think made him really a special player, the belief in himself.
Yeah.
And he had that confidence when he played at Washington, the last pick of the draft.
And a chip on his shoulder that drove him to just a different mental state.
And he's always had that. And it's what made him a special player. Like, the what if game with him is, what if he didn't get hurt, because he
finished third in the most valuable player rating, had 53 in a game 7 in the Eastern semifinals and played on that injured hip, which really ruined his career.
And small player.
Small player.
Got buckets.
No, it's really, the Kings, other than him, they've never had a player come through here, Westbrook now, but that was really a MVP caliber player for a few years. But he was such a delightful guy and loyal to the franchise.
I feel like we could talk to you for
all day,
75 hours straight.
Yep.
Last thing I'm going to say to you is we appreciate you so much. I hope you know how much Sacramento appreciates you. You're a humble guy. You try to downplay it, but you had such a big impact on people's lives in Sacramento. You're one of a kind. You're one of the best people, and I hope you're appreciated.
Well, thanks. I really appreciate the opportunities I've been given. I always say just the fun I have with fans and getting to meet them, getting to know them, and ushers, people that work at the arenas. That meant as much to me as players. And don't disrespect the players, but it's their job and all that, and they get their butt kissed enough. But but it's been great for me. I've always said that was the way I treated it. I always felt I was an employee of the fans. I know they didn't sign him a check, but that's who I felt like I was working for. And, I wanted the owners to be happy, but that was honestly secondary because I knew you could never make them happy.
Well, you served everyone perfectly. So just know, it's so thankful to have you just in our lives and everything. So thank Jerry.
You. I'm kind of happy to be alive, and that's my goal is to, live forever. And so far, so good.
I like that goal. I have the same one.
Yeah.
That's the one and only Jerry Reynolds.